From Pakistan, more shockers from India's most wanted terrorist Hafiz Saeed. He's addressed a rally in Peshawar and declared India as the next prime target to break down through jihad. Hafiz Saeed addressed a rally in Peshawar. He said, and I quote, "Now only two more powers are left in the world to break. First is India, second is Israel. Both are our targets for jihad. After that, Islam will rule the world." Joining me now for more on this is Headlines Today's Hamza Amir, who joins us from Pakistan. Maha Siddiqui joins us from New Delhi. Hamza, give us details. He's India's most wanted terrorist. Where was he speaking? What all did he say?
Well, Gaurav, Hafiz Saeed has been actually holding rallies to spread his jihad awareness, as he calls it, amongst people. He was in Peshawar yesterday addressing a big rally of people, and he said it out loud that the land routes that were used during the Afghan war against Russia and then the United States through Pakistan have been the greatest success for jihadis, which basically are terrorists, as we say them, and he actually calls them jihadis. So he said that they were the best assets that they were used, and they will be used again to actually break down the next remaining two powers, that is India and Israel. And he said the same land routes will be used, and they will be toppled down with the same jihad that will be waged against them. And he's also said that Jama'at-ud-Da'wah will be supporting all means that will be required to actually break down the next two powers, and that is in a form of jihad, as he calls it. Also, attending those gatherings were, very importantly, the leaders from Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, who actually announced their support to Jama'at-ud-Da'wah every way possible on their mission, and also Jamaat-e-Islami leadership was there. So he actually is getting support and actually spreading the hatred of jihad against India. Not only now, as we have always known that his organization has been working in Kashmir also, but now they're actually using other means to declare terrorism as jihad and targeting India and putting it as a prime next target for attack.
Okay, and is he getting mainstream political support in Pakistan? While he speaks in Peshawar, who are the mainstream politicians in Pakistan who are on the dais with him or who support him?
Well, from the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf side, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa minister was there. Actually, he not only shared the dice with him, he actually extended all of his support to Hafiz Saeed, and whenever he called, he said we will be there to support him. Not only that, but Jamaat-e-Islami's Professor Ibrahim, who was also part of the negotiation committee when Pakistan government was negotiating with the Taliban, he was part of that. He was also there, and he said the same thing, that this mission is the jihad and they will support it. So Hafiz Saeed, while he actually remains a banned figure, his organization remains as a banned outfit. They're actually staging open rallies in the major cities, including Peshawar, including Lahore, and now Peshawar, and calling on people to unite to wage jihad against the next two superpowers that they say are the main prime targets, and that is the first priority, and prime target is India.
Stay with me, Hamza. I want to bring in Maha Siddiqui for more on this. Maha, he is India's most wanted terrorist. There is evidence against him, yet Pakistan refuses to crack down on him. Is it hard evidence against him, Maha, or is it literature, as Pakistan puts it?
Well, it is clearly hard evidence, and India has provided that in the form of dossier, Gaurav. But Pakistan refuses to use it to bring to book these culprits, these terrorists who waged a war against India. In fact, Pakistan is the side that has had earlier dismissed it as literature, but India had continued to give dossier to Pakistan. And Gaurav, what more evidence do we need than a man who is in the open holding rallies and making claims that he will wage a war against India? There is no bigger evidence. This man clearly
doesn't recognize India's power and doesn't realize India's power. And for the moment, I want to just cut across to Mumbai. Take a look at India's power, the next big stealth destroyer, INS Vishakhapatnam. These are pictures that we are getting to you from Mumbai. That's Chief of Naval Staff Admiral Dhawan inspecting a guard of honor, and that is INS Virat, that is India's aircraft carrier. The Chief of the Naval Staff is in Mumbai. INS Vishakhapatnam is to be launched today. The CNS Admiral Dhawan, he's just inspected a guard of honor, and yes, that is INS Virat, India's aircraft carrier. Used to be Her Majesty's ship Hermes before India bought it, R-22. That is the aircraft carrier INS Virat. This has about 20 fighter jets on board. The Chief of the Naval Staff is in Mumbai to launch INS Vishakhapatnam. This is the first of the Vishakhapatnam class stealth destroyers. But presently he is on board INS Virat. These are pictures from INS Virat, the aircraft carrier. This is India's sea power on display. India at the moment has two aircraft carriers, INS Vikramaditya and INS Virat. And joining me now for more is Deputy Editor Shiv Arur. Shiv, this is India's sea power. The Chief of Naval Staff presently is on board INS Virat, but it's INS Vishakhapatnam. That's the big news story.
Oh, it's a really big day for the Indian Navy today, Gaurav, with the Vishakhapatnam stealth destroyer being launched in Mumbai. It marks a very, very big day in what has been, already a pretty successful year for the Indian Navy. In just the last 12 months, they've seen several ships joining force. Remember the INS Kolkata destroyer, which joined the Indian Navy just a few months ago, and now you're seeing the Vishakhapatnam destroyer being launched. It will be commissioned into service in about 2 years from now, in 2018. The launch ceremony of Vishakhapatnam basically means the ship will be floated out into the water. The images on air right now, we'd like to tell our viewers, are of the Chief of Naval Staff, Admiral R.K. Dhawan, on board, as you rightly pointed out, Gaurav, INS Virat, one of the Indian Navy's two aircraft carriers. Ceremonials underway at this point of time ahead of the launch ceremony of the Vishakhapatnam destroyer. And just to tell our viewers a little bit about the ship itself, this happens to be the most complex, easily the most formidable warship that India has ever produced. It is largely Indian. It's about 70% Indian. Apart from the propulsion system, everything else is basically Indian apart from the sensors. And this is a ship of which 4 will be built. Gaurav, as you know, the Vishakhapatnam class has been designed completely in-house by the Indian Navy's Naval Design Bureau. It's a ship that will be part of the frontline fleet. It's formidably armed with all sorts of weapons, including land targeting weaponry, torpedoes, surface-to-air missiles, anti-aircraft guns and such. So I can tell you that, given the Navy's massive responsibilities, and there you have it. That's the Vishakhapatnam there on the right side of our screen right now. It looks like an incomplete hull, but it is largely complete. It will be floated out into the sea ceremonially, after which, the rest of the ship will actually be constructed, and then sea trials will actually ensue. This is a ship that has taken a long time to come, Gaurav, but now that the first one is launched, the other ships will follow, in short periods of 2 years each. So we'll have 4 ships by 2022, 2024. As far as the frontline fleet is concerned for the Indian Navy, as you yourself have covered, Gaurav, huge responsibilities in terms of piracy, protecting Indian, the exclusive economic economic zone, the threat of asymmetric warfare from from Pakistan, the fact that 2611 style attacks are still very much in the realm of reality, the fact that smuggling has taken place. And remember, the Indian Navy continues to be the nodal agency as far as even coastal security is concerned.
Yes.
So this ramping up of force levels in terms of ships, in terms of aircraft, is something that simply cannot be underestimated. The Indian Navy definitely needs more firepower, and the Visakhapatnam is going to go a long way in achieving some of that.
And there is a citation ceremony, a presentation of medals for Indian Navy personnel that is underway on board the flight deck of INS Virat, as we see in these pictures. For a moment, let's dip in. Let's listen in to what's happening on board INS Virat. I'll come back to Shiv in just a moment.
Captain 1 Yankee.
Captain V. Hireman, 41760 Hotel.
So citation ceremony on board the INS Virat, a proud moment for the Indian Navy as INS Visakhapatnam, which is a stealth destroyer. And that is what makes this so extremely fascinating, Shiv. It's called a stealth destroyer because it is very difficult for enemy ship radars or submarines to capture the signatures of this ship, and that is why the secrecy around this ship that can operate in an NBC, nuclear, chemical, biological warfare atmosphere. This is an amazing ship that the Indian Navy will have in the next couple of years, INS Visakhapatnam.
You couldn't have put it better, Gaurav. It couldn't come a moment sooner. The entire ethic of the kind of ship that Visakhapatnam is, you can't really tell from that picture, about why this ship is being called a stealth destroyer. But there's a huge amount of interest and curiosity over, why a ship like the Visakhapatnam is called stealth. One, the construction. There are various, engineering feats that have been achieved in terms of, the shapes of equipment, the manner in which things are actually set up on the deck that reduce its signature, as you rightly pointed out. Also, noise levels on board the ship have been managed in such a way that it is significantly quieter, than earlier ships of its particular class, which is especially important during anti-submarine warfare operations. It contains a huge number of weapons for virtually every kind of, mission, Gaurav. It has BrahMos missiles to hit other ships and for land targets. It has, surface-to-air missiles. It also has anti-missile defense systems in case the ship itself comes under attack, perhaps in some kind of a combat scenario out at sea. So in every way, without exaggeration at all, the stealth features, the low radar signature features of this ship, combined with its enormous firepower, all of it packed, very tightly into a fairly compact vessel. It's about 7,300 tons, a pretty large ship, but for its size, packing an absolutely remarkable amount of firepower is something that the Navy is truly looking forward to. We should tell our viewers that the ship is being launched now and it will be commissioned into service in 2018, and by that time it's going to be it's going to be a really valuable addition to India's fighting teeth out at sea.
And it couldn't have come any sooner, as you rightly point out, Shiv, because of the complex nature of threat that India faces. 7,000 kilometers of wide, vast coastline and threats of 2611, similar nature, and comes at a time when a terrorist like Hafiz Saeed in Peshawar says we must break India down. Coastal security is of immense importance.
Indeed, Gaurav. The simple fact of the matter is, when you look at a ship of this size, you don't really equate it with fighting terrorists. But the simple fact of the matter is, with the Navy out there being the nodal agency as far as coastal security is concerned, these ships are going to be, trawling the waters around India. these ships aren't always, sort of positioned to actually fight or hit targets. The actual possibility of, let's face it, the actual possibility of any of our ships or weapons actually being used in anger is very, very small, because the possibility of a conventional war is very small. At the same time, ships like the Visakhapatnam will be deployed to collect intelligence, most importantly for patrolling around Indian waters to make sure that nothing untoward is happening. No enemies of the state can approach Indian sovereign territory, and also, or perhaps most importantly, Gaurav, as a deterrent value. These are deterrent assets. A ship of the kind that Visakhapatnam is, is a scary prospect for India's enemies. If enemies know that a ship like the Visakhapatnam or four like it are trawling the Arabian Sea, they will have to think twice before, either choosing to engage or even approaching. So in that sense, the Visakhapatnam is going to fulfill many roles. Hafiz Saeed, the Pakistani state, China's own strategy to try and encircle India strategically through the maritime sphere. All of this is sort of contingent not just on the manner in which these countries behave, but also on force levels. And force levels have everything to do with the number of ships each of these countries actually have out there. And I think that's precisely what the Indian Navy is trying to achieve here.